You know, you try to build a YouTube channel from the ground up, and eventually, through the magical power of memes, you achieve a slightly good level of mediocrity. And then, when you're finally able to bribe that Asian dude into making Let's Plays with you so you can finally do two-man Let's Plays like you've always wanted, all your freaking subscribers want are top 10 videos, exemplified by comments like this and the fact alone that my top 10 videos get thousands upon thousands upon thousands of more views than my Let's Play does. It's like you pour your heart and soul into this project that you've been preparing for over half a year at this point, and no one really seems to care about it. All they care is about some, like, guy on the fucking internet with glasses and shit who spends way too much time on his hair, opinions about Smash Brothers. I don't get that, don't think I ever will. This is what Star_ felt like. All he really put out were Team Fortress 2 videos, and then he built up a whole audience of people who only watch him for his Team Fortress 2 content, and then when he pours his heart and soul into these other videos that he's trying to make, it's just like, nah, we really don't like these. We really just want you to play the same game you've been playing for 10 years straight. You know, that's... Bitches be like, Nintoonist, when are you gonna put out another top 10 video? On one of my fucking Let's Play videos. It's like, nah, you didn't do a great job making this video that you'd like spent hours slaving on editing and recording or anything. Nah, that doesn't matter. When are you gonna make this? Because that is what I want, man. It died. The rant died. The words failed me. But in all seriousness though, I'm actually glad to make top 10 videos for you guys because I know very much so that you enjoy them. I just haven't been making them because I've been very busy with school, and a lot more time and energy goes into the production of a top 10 video. That meaning I have to make the list and find a logical basis in making the list so I don't just, spout random bullshit that doesn't make any sense. I also have to then write the script, and then of course edit the entire video myself, whereas with my Let's Play videos, I record with Dennis in like this whole giant sitting, and I then just edit them all later. And it's tedious to edit those too, but not nearly as much as these videos, and school has gotten in the way of that, so that is why I haven't been making any top 10 videos, even though they're by far the most popular thing on my channel, and to accommodate to the big outcry of my subs wanting more top 10 videos, here you go. I'm happy to release the top 5 most consistently bad Super Smash Bros. Characters. What this list entails is kind of like my last list, just the complete and utter opposite of it. That meaning in the top 5 most consistently good Super Smash Bros. Characters list, it's the top 5 characters that were just good in every Smash game that they were in, such as like Fox, for instance. He's like a good and viable character in every Smash game, or Marth because he's a top tier in every Smash game. And in this list, it's the complete opposite. These are the top 5 characters that have always been bad throughout every Smash game that they were in, hence the name, the top 5 most consistently bad Super Smash Bros. Characters. And finally, with all that said, let's head right into the list. Suck it, Glenn. To start this list off, we have the hero of time, who is easily one of gaming's most iconic characters. But despite his fame, he's not good. And frankly, he never has been, in any of the 4 Smash games. Going all the way back to a game as small and balanced as Smash 64, Link still does not rank any higher than the second worst character in the entire game. Fast forward to Smash 4, and Link is now better than he's ever been, being significantly stronger than he has been in his previous incarnations. Get it? Previous incarnations? Cause Link has previous incarnations in the Zelda games? Okay. While still retaining his classic Smash Bros. Design of being a primarily long-range, zoning, and turtling character. He's also deceivingly heavy, tied with 2 other characters for being the 11th heaviest character in the game. And of course, this is still a shock to us all, he placed top 3 at the most stacked Smash 4 event to date. Now, I may be trying to show you how and why I think Link is a consistently bad character, but Link currently having a higher placement at a major than Bayonetta kinda says something about how Link has changed in this game, hasn't it? Regardless of Link's recent insane results and generally being a better character in Smash 4 as opposed to the other Smash games, he still isn't very good of a character. Throughout each game, Link has been plagued with having relatively bad frame data. On top of that, he's a fast faller, so much in Smash 4 specifically that he actually ranks as the 3rd fastest faller in the entire game. This combined with his weight basically means that if Link whips one of his attacks, there is so much end lag and he is such combo food that you can easily get very high damage punishes on Link, especially if you play a plumber or just another combo-oriented rushdown character. And on top of that, in each Smash game, he's just simply drastically outshined by the characters above him. Especially in Melee and Brawl, with characters such as Fox and Meta Knight, respectively. I mean, you got characters like Melee, Fox, and Brawl Meta Knight, as opposed to just Link, you know, that's not exactly a fair balance. Link's tier placement in Smash 4 is a very debatable topic in the Smash 4 community, but regardless of his results in that game, he places on this list due to his other appearances in Smash, in which he is not even close to viable. The King of Evil himself, Ganondorf, made his debut in Melee, and ever since then, he's seen a rather sharp decline. In Melee, Ganondorf has representation from several famous players, including Kage the Warrior, Bizarro Flame, Eichelman, and even none typically goes Ganon over Falcon when he's up against an Ice Climbers player. Ganon is only a low tier by like 1 or 2 spots in Melee, almost being universally accepted as a viable character. And then Brawl came out. Ganondorf was the absolute worst character in the entire game, possessing almost no redeeming qualities whatsoever, including horrible frame data and not being nearly as strong as he should be for a character who was designed to be slow, but powerful. Brawl's mechanics also worked against Ganondorf as well, because hit stun canceling was a thing, which allowed players to survive against him for much longer than the other Smash games. In Smash 4, as opposed to Brawl, he was buffed in most regards, plus there was Rage, which helps him out a lot, but he still suffers from the same problems that he always has, and they're what make him a consistently bad character in my opinion. He is incredibly slow in almost every regard, with a very slow dash speed and moves that have very high startup and end lag. He can't jump very high, and he's also really easy to combo and punish due to his moves being as laggy as they are, and his weight and fall speed being so high as well. Now, these poor traits are balanced out and negated by Ganondorf's raw power. I mean, you look at Ganon in Melee, he can get you to over 100% in 5 hits, for God's sake. But in my personal opinion, I think mobility is much more important than power. Well, actually, not necessarily more important per se, but better. This is part of why in Smash 4, Sheik, a character who has abysmal kill power on most of her attacks with Rage, but amazing mobility and defensive options, is better than Ganondorf, a character with horrible mobility, but astronomical kill power. Ganondorf really isn't that bad per se, but he's definitely one of Smash's most consistently bad characters in my opinion. Now, Ike is a character that's gone through quite the road in his career as a Smash fighter. In Brawl, he was pretty bad, ranked 23 out of 38 characters, and in Smash 4 for a long while, and still in a lot of players' opinions, including mine, he is still not good. There was, however, a brief stint in 2015 through parts of 2016 where players like Rio were putting in crazy work with this character, putting on quite the show in doubles with Soul at CEO 2015. I remember that day specifically just because of how freaking hype I was. That and gay marriage in America was nationally legalized on the same day. What a day for progress. But after that, Ike kinda started to fall off in the meta, and ironically enough, this was around the time when he was considered not only to be a high tier character, but the best Fire Emblem character in the game, because Martha and Lucina weren't buffed yet, Roy and Corrin weren't released yet, and Robin was, well, Robin. Anyway, Ike is now generally considered to be a low tier, despite players like Waldo consistently doing well with him. He pretty much suffers from the same cons that outweigh his pros. Smash 4's ledge mechanics made his recovery better, and the removal of hit stun canceling gave him good combo throws, which he can follow up with his aerials, which were given better frame data along with most of his other attacks. But his mobility, although better than it was in Brawl, is still very bad. He's very easy to combo, plus his attacks are very slow, which makes him very susceptible to rushdown characters such as Fox. His lack of a projectile on top of his poor frame data make him incredibly susceptible to camping as well. And despite his recovery being buffed due to the lack of edge hogging in Smash 4, his recovery is still very linear and predictable, even with his buffed side B. So, Ike hasn't completely had his day in the sun just yet, but, we'll see what the future holds for him. Alright, now close your eyes for a second and try to remember this. Do you remember when Roy first came out in Smash 4 and everybody thought he was gonna be a top tier, including Zero? I remember. And Pepperidge Farm remembers too. That's an old meme. Just cut that. Just fucking cut that, man. Roy is another character that's consistently received the short end of the stick throughout his history as a Smash fighter. Literally. He has a very short stick that hinders him compared to the other sword fighters, as his range as a whole, for a sword fighter at least, is not very good. Which is stupid, because the whole point of being a sword fighter in Smash is to have disjoints that make it easy and safe to outrange and outspace your opponent. Usually this is counteracted by the sword fighter's moves being generally more laggy than a character like, say, Mario. But for Roy, however, this is not the case. In Melee, his range is horrible for a sword fighter, yet a large percentage of his attacks are still very laggy, and often even less powerful than his counterpart in that game, Marth. Roy has an inverse tipper effect, meaning that instead of causing more damage and knockback by hitting with the tip of his sword, he does it with the base. To do this though, you need to get in very close to your opponent, and as I said before, his moves are just as laggy, if not more laggy than Marth, so this kind of destroys the purpose of being a sword fighter in the first place, as Roy gets the shit end of both sticks in this situation. Like, when your moves are that laggy, how are you gonna commit to an option that close to your opponent? Because what if it whiffs? You're gonna get punished very, very easily. And the worst part about that is that Roy doesn't have a projectile, so that's pretty much his only option for approaching, is that he has to commit to an option, and if he whiffs that option, he can get comboed almost to death. Those factors sadly proved Roy as unviable in Melee. In Smash 4, however, things really started to go up for him. His overall mobility and attack speed is significantly better, along with much better frame data, and the rage mechanic helps him out a bunch, as his already strong base attacks are that much stronger with rage. His overall mobility and attack speed are significantly better, along with much better frame data, and the rage mechanic helps him out a bunch, as his already strong base attacks are that much stronger with rage. Despite Roy being completely overhauled as a character from the ground up in Smash 4, he still suffers from the same problems that he had in Melee. He is still very ineffective as a swordsman, as his range is still very poor. Honestly, the best thing Nintendo did to address Roy's range problem was to make his animations now actually match his crappy hitboxes, instead of looking like they had good range but didn't, like they did in Melee. He's a swordsman, yes, but he's only effective at close range for a swordsman, so he's kind of a high-risk, high-reward character when you really, like, sit down and analyze Roy. So, despite Roy being completely overhauled in Smash 4, Nintendo never truly addressed the problems that made Roy bad in the first place, which is why he's on this list. Yeah, this probably shouldn't come as a surprise to you. Zelda is the #1 most consistently bad Smash Bros. Character. I say this for the obvious reason. That being, that much like every other character on this list, Zelda has never been a good character. Good, of course, equaling viable. The highest she's ever been has been a low tier, securing a spot as a bottom 5 character in every game she's in. Well, at the very least, she's subjectively better than bottom 5 in Smash 4, as in Smash 4 she's better than she's ever been, but the general consensus among top players is that she is. In all of the Smash games, her mobility is lacking. She doesn't really have any good options to approach, and a good chunk of her moves either have more end lag than they deserve, or just really crappy and awkward hitboxes. She's tall, which is bad for avoiding attacks and escaping combos. She's slow, which is bad for general mobility, and she's light and floaty, which makes her die earlier than a lot of the other characters. In Melee, her entire presence as a character is almost completely invalidated and irrelevant due to her down B, a move that literally transforms Zelda into a top-tier character who's better than Zelda in almost every way. The most you're gonna see out of Zelda in Melee is Sheik players occasionally transforming into her off stage to give themselves a better chance of recovering, as Zelda's recovery travels farther than Sheik's. In Brawl, she was actually even worse than she was in Melee, ranked at 37th out of 38 characters, making her the second worst in the entire game. Her combo and approach games are almost non-existent, and her recovery is not only predictable and exploitable, but also suffers from weird angling problems as well. And despite having some powerful moves, she doesn't really have very many reliable finishers besides maybe her up smash, which was one of her best moves as it covered most of her body and was near impossible to SDI out of. Moving on to Smash 4, Zelda is better than she has ever been, with overall buffs to her mobility and recovery, combo game, projectile game, and kill power, as she now has multiple kill moves such as her fair and bear, her up air, her down air, and her up and F smashes. She even has a hoo-ha-like combo now in her down throw to nair, which lets her reliably rack up damage, potentially even being able to link into a forward air. And if the percent is right, down throw can combo into her up air as well for a kill. However, despite all of her buffs, by comparison to most of the cast, she is still lacking as a character, as most of her key flaws, those being her approach, survivability, and neutral game, were never really fully addressed. And unfortunately, Zelda's flaws generally outweigh her pros, which in the long run is what makes a low tier in the first place. And finally, and most famously concerning Zelda in Smash 4, she can no longer transform into Sheik, meaning that she no longer possesses the ability to transform into a better character. And there you have it, folks, the top 5 most consistently bad Super Smash Bros. Characters spread across all 4 games. If you like this video, go ahead and let me know by leaving a like down below, telling me what your top 5 consistently worst Super Smash Bros. Characters are down below, and telling me what list you guys want me to do next. I am very much open to suggestions, and I would love to make some for you. However, if you want more Nintoonist action and you can't wait for the next top 10 list, then feel free to check out my Paper Mario Let's Play that I'm doing with my good friend Dennis. We upload new videos every 2 days right here on the Nintoonist channel. Me and Dennis pretty much, just talking about dicks or anything for about 15 minutes straight while playing the fun Paper Mario video game. I think it is a delight, and I very much recommend it to you for your viewing pleasure. My name is Nintoonist. I very much hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, leave a like down below, leave a comment down below, share the video if you want my YouTube channel to have more subs, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Nintoonist, and I will gladly see you next time. Ciao.